Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free impartial advice on all your debt.
Okay. This is UMAR AHMED for IFL TV in association with MTK Global via Zoom. I've got Gareth Davies with me. First IFL interview with Gareth of the year. And you also had a busy start to the year with your DAZN work you did for Garcia Campbell. How was that, Gareth?
Well, it's great. It's lovely to be involved, of course, as always, with the broadcasts. And, I think, it was a fantastic and intriguing fight to start the year. I think they did very well to get it on the 2nd of January. We're so not used to having major events this early in the year. So it was a great kickoff to the year. And I think, it was a highly entertaining event. It was fantastic to be involved. And also, of course, to be involved with DAZN and also to be involved with Ricky and last week with Joe Calzaghe, British boxing legends,
Yeah, as you said, a fantastic fight, thoroughly entertaining, great clash of styles. It mixed really well. Ryan come out on top with the stoppage. What did you make of his performance and win, Gareth?
Well, he showed us several things. He's still very raw, but he recovered from that knockdown in the second round against a very experienced campaigner. He came back into the fight. He showed an array of skills. He's still a work in progress. He's 22 years old. It was his first step up in class. He came back and he had Luke in trouble in the 5th round. After Luke, for me, had found a foothold in the fight. Then Luke came back again in the 7th, but was knocked out by this raw equalizing power that he had. It was an incredible body shot to finish the fight. He looks like a choir boy. I had my own Zoom call with him for my YouTube page with Ryan Garcia heading into the fight. And he's a terrific kid, really terrific kid. And, he's got a message. And as you know, he picked up 200,000 Instagram followers on the night. He's now up to 8 million. I did say to him, when I interviewed him, you're like the Justin Bieber of boxing, he's part of this new generation and he proved he's a lot more than just the hype. And now it sets him up for some amazing contests in the lightweight division.
I mean, that was a final eliminator for Devin Haney. Do you like the fight with Devin and Ryan?
Oh, it's a fantastic fight. Of course it is. And it helps that obviously Ryan Garcia is with Golden Boy and they've got a contract with DAZN. Devin Haney is with Eddie Hearn, who also has a contract with DAZN. So it's a very makeable fight. It's a very exciting fight. Yeah, but so too is Garcia and Vasyl Lomachenko, Garcia and Tank Davis, who he's been viciously calling out today and saying, let's do it. I've got no fear. And also there's a fight there with Teofimo Lopez and all the other ones, Justin Fortuna, George Kambosos Jr. It's an amazing division, of course. In my view, I think Tank Davis is as dangerous a knockout artist as Ryan Garcia, with a kind of jack-in-the-box springing style. And also, I think Teofimo Lopez, with that performance against Vasyl Lomachenko, the victory to go to number 1 in the division, I'm not sure he's ready for him yet. But you know what? We say those things, but I'd love to see all these lightweight fights happen over the next 2 years and all these guys round robin each other because, rather like we were talking about for the last couple of years in the heavyweight division with Joshua Wilder and Fury and Dillian Whyte and others, let's see who the champion of the division is by them all fighting each other. Let's have another era of the 4 kings, Hagler, Hearns, Duran, Leonard. Let's have that. Let's have that right now with all these youngsters in their mid to late 20s. Let's do it. It's brilliant.
It's quite refreshing, I think. So long the conversation has been about the heavyweight division over the last 3 or 4 years, as you mentioned, and still will be, because some of the fights we may get this year. But there is a real buzz around this lightweight division, which I don't think we've seen in the lower weights for a long time, where Mayweather was really dominating the sport. We haven't really seen that kind of buzz in a lower weight division where there's so many talented fighters and all young as well.
Well, I think the welterweight division was,
But we weren't getting the fights, were we, Gareth?
No, no, we weren't. But, you look at the welterweight division with Pacquiao, with Manny Pacquiao, with Sean Porter, with the two leading lights in the division in Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. I know you'll ask me about fights this year. I really hope that fight gets made between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence in the first, say, half of the year at least. Obviously Amir Khan and Cal Brook were kind of fringe contenders in that division as well. It's a very strong division. So, I think welterweight was an exciting division, but we didn't get the matchups when we should have had them. I agree with you on that. Yeah. The talent, but not the matchups, in the fights.
Yeah, and listen, we're still waiting for these kind of. We're still waiting for Khan Brook. We're still waiting for Spence Crawford, Spence Pacquiao, Crawford Pacquiao, and these guys are at the peak of their career, if not coming to the back end of their career. These lightweights are only starting out, and they're creating so much noise. And we kind of do expect these fights to happen this year so soon, which it should.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. And the good thing is they've all got a willingness to fight each other. There's those four names, well, Garcia, Haney, Lomachenko, Lopez, and Tank Davis. Those five seem willing to all fight each other. So, hopefully it will get made and it'll be an incredible year for the lightweight division.
Yeah, we hope so. As you just said, I will ask you about fights you do want to see this year. Fury Joshua is an
obviously.
Just name me some others off the top of your head.
Well, it's that one is the pivotal one for me in the whole of boxing this year, and hopefully with the UK in lockdown now, it will lead to a lot of discussion and the deal being made between the parties that involve Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. But there's the other fight I'd love to see this year and soon is Josh Taylor against Jose Ramirez for all the belts at 147. At 140 rather, at light welterweight, as I call it, or junior, whatever they call it these days, junior welterweight. But I call it light welterweight still, age being the factor there. But I'd love to see that fight. That's very, very exciting. And I pinpointed, and a lot of people disagreed with me on social media, as Josh Taylor potentially being the star of certainly British boxing in 2021, because he's known within the industry, but he's not a household name yet, Josh Taylor. And I think he's got massive opportunities this year. And then I'd like to see him step up to that welterweight division where he's got all those challenges we just talked about. I saw Josh before he knocked out the Thai Konsung late last year, and he said his Manny Pacquiao is one of his heroes, but that would be a dream fight. Imagine getting Manny Pacquiao to come and fight in the UK against Josh Taylor. It would be extraordinary.
His dog's named after him, isn't he?
What's that?
Josh Taylor's dog is named after Manny Pacquiao.
He is, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Pac-Man, yeah. I've just got up from my sick bed, actually, but throw some other fights at me that maybe are on your
Well, radar. Another obvious one I think has to happen this year, otherwise I don't think it'll ever happen, is Crawford Spence.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course. Crawford and Spence. I mentioned that earlier. That's an incredible fight, and it makes for them becoming stars in the United States, which again, they're rather similar to Josh Taylor in the UK. Within the industry, they're really revered, both of them, and yet there's not this massive wider reach, where they can become the kind of stars that go on the major chat shows in America and talk about their life stories, because they've both got incredible life stories. Imagine Errol Spence being on the big American shows, chat shows, and talking about that car crash, for example, and how he survived it. Terence Crawford surviving bullets through his car. Remember, there's some incredible stories that these guys could put out there and filter out into the mainstream that would make them even bigger names. They both certainly got the calling cards to be megastars in the sport and in sport in general.
The problem seems to be there. It's obviously the promotional outfits, but also the split. Spence says it's going to be a 70-30 or 60-40 split. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I'll let the business people do the negotiations. I mean, you know, for me, it's a 50-50 with those two. They should just split 50-50. Forget the 70-30 or the 60-40. You know, I think a while ago I was asked by, it might have been Thomas Hauser, to do he gave us the 5 or 6, it might have been the end of last year, sorry, the year before, where we were looking at that welterweight division, and we didn't get the fights last year. And he had a graph of who beats who in the divisions, and we had to fill them out. It was several boxing correspondents from around the world. And I went for split draw in the first fight with Spence and Crawford, because I don't think you can split them. They've both looked amazing in all their performances. So I think they're worthy 50-50 fights, those. I mean, 50-50 fights, but also 50-50 purse. Simple as that.
Another fight that I desperately want to see is Canelo Alvarez v Billy Joe Saunders.
Oh, yeah, yes, and that one as well. Amazing, because of the styles again. Canelo gets better and better. He looked very powerful against Callum Smith, who, again, you know, puts in a fine performance, as, by the way, Luke Campbell did against Ryan Garcia. I want to mention that. I thought his performance was fine. And you know, I think if he could have taken it into the much later rounds and found a period of dominance in the fight, we could have had a very close finish. Billy Joe Saunders, because of his incredible boxing skills against Canelo, would be terrific. And I think Billy would have to put on the performance of his career and the performance of his life to get a victory over Canelo. But again, like you say, love to see the fight.
In your heart of hearts, Fury Joshua, Crawford Spence, Canelo Billy Joe Saunders, and let's go for Garcia Haney, because that is the one we expect. Out of those 4, do you think all 4 happen, 1 happens, none happen? What are you thinking this year? I'm going
all 4 to happen.
All 4, okay.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I think that the most difficult one to make is Spence Crawford. But I think, you know, let's let the boxing administrators and the boxing deal breakers, I mean, see sense this year. We're still going into another year with this COVID-19 hanging over us, and you know, boxing's promoters and the commissions and the Boxing Board of Control did a fantastic job last year in creating the protocols around kind of safe COVID safe events. You know, I was at several of them last year. Let's continue that. Let's, on both sides of the pond, and let's get those fights on, because people want them. People want to be entertained. It's a dark time for a lot of people. I mean, I saw Tyson Fury's beautiful message that he put out today, you know, with the lots of numbers for the Samaritans and so on, and a very heartfelt message about it's going to be a tough time for everyone. And it really helps when people have got things to be excited about and look forward to.
Well, that's why Eddie Hearn's considering moving his shows abroad, because obviously boxing is cancelled for the foreseeable future in this country.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least till the end of the month, which obviously catapults the Povetkin White rematch, which was looking at late January. He was for that, wasn't he? And obviously Avesanian and
Kelly, yeah.
And Kelly is now off as well. That was one I was really looking forward to. Could Kelly make an impact this year? That's a fascinating. Another one I'd like to see is Kelly and Conor Benn this year. Terrific all British matchup. There's so much going on. I mean, they did really well to keep the whole rhythm and momentum of the sport going last year, and let's just keep it going this year.
Final one I want to finish on is actually another welterweight fight. You just mentioned Kelly Benn there with 2 Brits again, but it's Amir Khan and Kell Brook. We mentioned it earlier in this briefly. I'm sure you'd have seen Amir's comments out in Dubai, where he's essentially called out Kell Brook Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I saw Amir about a month ago in early December, and we talked about it. I was up in his gym filming with DAZN, and he mentioned there that, you know, if there's one more fight he's going to have, he would like to have it with Kell Brook. And I was saying, why don't you have it in somewhere like Lahore after a T20 game or something, you know, and like have 120,000 in there and make it a spectacle, do something really different. I'd like to see that fight. Obviously,
is the appeal still there, Gareth?
Yeah, well, there is some appeal. Like, it's not the blockbuster, you know, stadium fights that I think it was, you know, say in a football stadium that it was, say, 2 years ago, or even before they both stepped up to middleweight, you know, vis-a-vis the Canelo fight for Khan and the Golovkin fight for Brook. God, that might even be 3 years ago now, is it? Yeah, I think it is.
Was 2016, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, there you go. It's all that time has passed. So that's why I was saying, well, that's what I was saying to Amir. You know, surely doing it somewhere like Pakistan, where and you could do it before or after a T20 game, where there's massive crowds, would make it more of a spectacle. But yeah, I think there is still an appetite, but there's no way they're selling out Wembley Stadium for that fight anymore. Not that it was a Wembley Stadium fight necessarily, but yeah, I'd like to see it. It rounds the corner for both of them in their careers, and because otherwise we'll be forever saying, oh, those two guys should have fought each other. There'll be lots of moans that they're fighting each other, like Mayweather and Pacquiao 3 years too late. But it'd be good to see it for both of them for the ends of their careers.
I think once it gets to fight week, it will grip everyone again.
Oh yeah, of course it will. Of course it will. There'll be a lot of debates. You know, will Kell knock out Amir? Will Amir's speed be too much for Kell? What have they got left? Have both men, you know, who've suffered losses to Crawford now, of course. You know, have they got one more big fight in them? And I'm sure they both pull out all the stops. And then they got a debate, of course, about what weight they fight at. Kell will want it at 147. You know, Amir might want it at 143. It could go back and forth, couldn't it? The divide again, 50-50 fight. And let's secure the right weight, first of all, that they're going to do it at. And let's get it on.
Definitely. Listen, Gareth, that is the first of many catch-ups in 2021. Hopefully boxing resumes in this country ASAP. From February we open. I'm sure we'll be talking lots, as I said, this year. Nice one, Gareth.
Cheers, UMAR. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year as well. Take care.
Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free impartial advice on all your debt.